Hello beautiful people. Today my video is going to be just 3 little tips and tricks that I use to kind of help me cope with my anxiety. So without further ado, let's get started. To disclaim, I'm not a doctor, nor do I have any type of certification or anything like that. I'm just giving you a couple tips and tricks that I've used throughout my life, just to kind of help me cope with certain situations and, just to kind of overcome the whole anxiety attacks or whatever might be the situation for you. Okay, so I have a definition right here online that I looked up and I'm going to read it to you guys. It says that it's an intense, excessive, and persistent worry and fear about everyday situations. So some symptoms that may, arise are fast heart rate, rapid breathing, sweating, and feeling tired may occur. Common causes says that anxiety can be normal in stressful situations such as public speaking or taking a test, which for me taking a test is a real big one. Anxiety is only an indicator of underlying diseases when feelings become excessive, like all-consuming or interfere with your daily lives. So, there's not really a lot on here. They have treatments and stuff like that, but that's not what this video is about. I just wanted to give you a little bit more information just in case you don't really know what the definition of anxiety is before we get started. A little bit of background. I first really discovered that I had a lot of anxiety probably when I was younger, but I really didn't notice it. It didn't affect me as much. I used to bite my nails all the time, in certain situations. I don't know if it was just out of habit or it was just something that I did as a kid, but I was just my hands, it wasn't so much of biting the nails as much as it was just chewing them. I still kind of do it sometimes, till this day. You'll see me just holding it here, or just when I'm thinking, I put my hand next to my mouth or something like that. It's kind of just that comfort zone for me. So that was kind of a number one indicator. And then my mom would always tell me stories when I was about when I was little. She would ask me to go into a store to get something, and my little sister at the time, she's not that much younger than me, but my mom would ask me because I'm older, right? So she'd be like, oh, Ray, go into the store and ask them if they have a tube of toothpaste or something like that. And I would literally look at her okay, this is a big moment for me. I have to go in there, I'm alone, and I'm just thinking about what ifs, what happens if this, or what happens if they don't, or this, and I would just tell her well, Mom, what happens if they don't have it, or what happens if they don't have that specific one, or what if they tell me this, or what if they tell me that, and she'd literally look Ray, it's gonna be okay, if they don't have it, just come back out here and I'll tell you, but I don't want to go in there if they don't have it, type of thing. So ever since I was little, I would just give my mom those type of excuses when she'd ever ask me to do something. So she jokes, she says she never asked me to do anything. She would always ask my sister to go in there and do something because my sister didn't care. She just had that type of who gives anything type of attitude. So she'd go in there and do it. So that was kind of a second indication. I would just always hear these stories. She's you'd never want to do anything. You were so paranoid about what was going to happen, or what if they didn't have it, or, anything, what they would say. She's instead of just going in there and doing it. So yeah, it's taken me a long time to kind of overcome that. And then I think it's just a little bit more recently having to do with, the adulting and getting older, having more responsibilities, but that stress level comes up, obviously, so does your anxiety. I never really went to the doctors or anything like that for it. I haven't seen a psychologist or anything. It's kind of just more self-diagnosed for me, just because it's not really interfering with my daily life, not too much to where I can't handle it. So if it ever did, I would seek out a specialty, some sort of special treatment or special help, but until then I really don't think that I need it. Anyways, continuing on. So as I got into adulthood, it was more, I was getting stressed out over my job. I'm a server, so I was always getting these server nightmares, and I wasn't able to go to sleep, or if I would, I'd be worried about work and stuff like that, and it was just becoming too overwhelming. And especially during this whole COVID thing, it really started to affect me a lot more. So I had to have talk with my managers and let them know hey, it's too overwhelming for me, I need to take a step back from serving. So they ended up putting me in takeout and stuff like that. And so since then, it's been a lot easier for me to kind of cope with you know, all of those feelings and like that stressfulness that just comes from like my everyday work. So here are a couple tips and tricks that I have used that I found like throughout the years that really kind of, you know, like help me, that just kind of like get me out of the zone and just like get me out of that moment in time when I do sort of feel like I'm anxious or, you know, having like that sort of like anxiety, those symptoms. So the number one thing is kind of just talking about it. You know, I never really used to talk about it because I was very embarrassed and I didn't want, you know, a lot of people to see me in a certain light that I, you know, wasn't trying to portray to them, especially in, you know, especially at work and, you know, in school and stuff like that. So I've had to learn how to really, like I'm doing right now, expressing myself and just being okay with telling people that, you know, this is what I go through, and, you know, asking for that help or just like talking about the situation just to kind of alleviate, you know, all those feelings and like, you know, that weight that has been on my shoulders. So I found that, you know, you don't have to talk to your parents, you know, if you feel that like it's a little too much or too overwhelming. If you have a best friend, you know, type of thing, that's always someone like you can go to. For me, obviously, like family is really important, so I always go to like either my sister, sometimes I go to my mom, depending on my situation. But I have a couple friends too, one of my best friends that like, you know, I always talk about my problems, and or like I'll do like a weekly session or something like that, like, hey, like, how are you today, what's going on, type of thing. So I feel a little bit better having, you know, that type of security blanket kind of like over me, to where I'm like, okay, I have these people that, you know, like they love me, they're not going to judge me. And I just had to really feel comfortable with being able to be, you know, vulnerable with them and talking to them about like my feelings, like my problems, like what I'm really going through, what I'm really thinking. And I think like that has really helped me a lot throughout the years. Okay, number two might be kind of, I don't know, it might not be something that is really like a tip or a trick. It might not be something that is as easy to do as you might think, but obviously they say to get rid of anything that may be causing you the stress to lead to the anxiety. So as far as like, for me, it was more work that was kind of doing it to me a lot more in the long run, because not that I was working long hours, I was serving a lot, you know, and it was getting a lot, especially during COVID, because we had limited staff and we really weren't able to rely on, you know, those people that would normally be there. It was kind of like you have to do all your own things, and you know, are responsible for all these people and all their food and all their drinks and all of this stuff. So it got really, really overwhelming for me. And, you know, I don't like to ask for help because that's just the type of person that I am. You know, I like to portray that I'm strong enough and that I'm a good enough, you know, server to be able to handle it. That was never the case. It's just, you know, how I was feeling. So eliminating what is causing the stress. So like how I said, what I did, I ended up talking to my managers and just letting them know like, hey, like this is what's causing me the stress, and like I'm going home every day like very anxious, I'm coming into work very anxious, like I'm very angry, like I'm snapping at people, I'm like, and it's just creating like this person that is not me. And you know, it was a lot to have to tell them that. And I mean, at the end of the day, all they want is what's best for me. So what did we do? We eliminated, obviously, the whole serving part. So it really helped to like alleviate, you know, a lot of that stress for me. So I was able to really just like breathe, take a step back, and not really have to like, you know, worry about certain things like that. I mean, another example is like, you know, in school, I'm not the type of person to just do one thing. So like in school, when I was going to my 4-year university, I was on the synchronized skating team, I was on the figure skating team, I worked as a server, I went to school full time, and you know, I did all 4 of those all at the same time. So you could just imagine like the amount of stress and the amount of anxiety and the amount of just like, you know, like how overwhelmed I must have been. So now that I'm older, obviously I'm not in school, obviously, you know, I'm not skating competitively anymore. So just eliminating a couple of those, you know, small little things. Not really eliminating, I coach now, so it's not like that much that I've tried to like shy away from, but kind of just like limiting myself to what I know that I can do and what I know that I can handle. That way, you know, I stay in a healthy mental state, because I don't want, you know, all of my priority to be over here, and like I have to like, you know, pick and choose and do this and do that, because that's where, you know, I start to get really like anxious and I start to get too overwhelmed, and honestly like I just shut down. down and I don't know what to do. So I've found that, you know, finding that good balance in life, especially during your adulthood, you have to know like what is really important, you know, job or slash career, family, and then like a hobby. Like you have to have something that like you love. So for me, my job obviously was serving. My family, I'm with my family, I spend a good amount of time with them all day, every day. And then my hobby, what I really enjoyed to do was coaching, because it kept me really close to like that skating community. So with those three things, it like really helped me to just get out of that whole little anxiety bubble and just to kind of like breathe and, you know, enjoy life and just kind of not really think about all the stressful things that are going on. Okay, and now my third thing is kind of a funny one also that like I really didn't recognize a lot, but I guess some people have pointed it out to me over the years, is listening to music. So ever since I was little, like I've always, if I loved a song, like really loved a song, like I listened to it and I heard it and I was like, boom, I love that song, I would literally listen to it on repeat all day, every day, just because I wanted to learn the lyrics, to learn the, you know, to learn the song, to sing along to it, just because like me singing along to it was just like, it was just like the best thing ever. So I had this little like notebook, little like spiral binder notebook that I would write the titles of the songs, and I would literally just sit there with, you know, my old school little iPod or my little CD player that I had back then, and I would just write down the lyrics. I would, you know, let it play, pause, go back, skip it, and like write down all the lyrics. So until this day, I mean, I don't write them down anymore because we have an amazing new technology developed that, you know, on any type of device you can find the lyrics for any song. So it's a little bit easier for me to figure out what the words are. But I would literally just listen to the song on repeat until I learned it, and that just gave me like, I don't know, just like an overwhelming like amount of happiness. I don't know why, but it always really helped me whenever I got really anxious or like, you know, felt like that anxiety kind of like coming in and I needed to just kind of like de-stress. Like I'll put on a song and like singing it to myself kind of just like turns my brain off for a second, and I just like am in that moment and I'm just listening to that song and like nothing else is really mattering at that moment in time. I do this a lot. I started doing it a little bit more towards like the whole COVID thing, like going back to work. I mean, even before then, I started doing it for a couple months. I would, before I go to work, you know, I get in my car and I would put on a song, and like I wouldn't talk to anybody, like I wouldn't do anything, I wouldn't really be thinking about anything. I would kind of just like get in like, you know, like that zone of like zoning out, that zone. And so I would play the song and I just listen to, I have like, you know, a little set playlist that I listen to that, you know, every day when I get in my car, this is what I listen to, and these are the songs that, one, I know the lyrics to, that way I can sing, and, you know, two, just like songs that like make me feel good, songs that like, you know, touch my emotions or like hit my heart or something like that. So I'd get in my car, I'd push that playlist on, and I'd literally sing all the way until I got to work. And like I'd be sitting there like in my car and I'd be like at work already. I'm like, how am I at work already? I'm like, oh yeah, I listened to like 5 of these songs already and it's been like 15-20 minutes. Of course I should be at work. So that has kind of really helped, you know, me de-stress and just kind of, you know, get out of that moment, just to kind of like take a breath and just to clear my mind and not have to think about, you know, all the things that I'm stressing about or what I'm doing that day or having to go to work or doing this or doing that. You know, I'm such an overthinker that it causes me, you know, too much overthinking causes me the stress, causes me the anxiety, and then, you know, it all just trickles all over the place. So what I've learned over the years, like I said, is just trying to have like that nice balance, you know, and trying to figure out what fits for you, and, you know, just trying to like listen to yourself, I guess, like a little bit more, and really like just accept what's going on, and then accepting, you know, the help or all these other little things that you can. I mean, like I said, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a licensed anything, so this is just a little bit of details, you know, my story and like what I do just to kind of help out, you know, my own personal mental health. Alrighty, I hope that gave you guys a little bit more of an insight on, you know, me and a little bit more of my background and stuff like that. you know, anxiety can affect everybody differently, and this is just, you know, what works for me. It may work for you, it may not. If you do try it, don't forget to comment down below and let me know how it goes. If you have any other questions, comments, tips, or anything, don't forget to comment like I said and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.